Hello and welcome to Zero Hanger TV for 2024. I am your host, Phoenix Trinidad, and as always, I'm joined by Chief AFL Editor at Zero Hanger, Mr. Mitch Keating. Hello, mate.
Good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. How's your break?
Good.
Yeah.
Time away.
What do you get up to?
Went away down Ocean Grove. Always nice down there.
Yep.
And then just kicked my feet up. So it was good.
Couple
Got
of
back.
festivals.
No. God, I can't even remember what I did. Actually, yes. No, New Year's at Sydney Mine Music Bowl. That was fun. What about yourself?
Yeah, same old. Just hung around Richmond. Went for a walk around the MCG, check out Taylor Swift.
Yep.
The crowds,
Big
pretty
Swiftie.
crazy. Good stuff.
Nice. And we've also got our season guide. Probably should mention this.
Season guide, yeah. So the Zero Hanger AFL season guide. What's in there?
Heaps.
Heaps.
And it's free. It's the first time it's been free. So if you're listening and you haven't got it, go get it. It's on our site. 140 plus pages. Every club, every player, fixtures, games to watch. Heaps.
Yeah. You guys put in a lot of work over that for the 2024 season. So speaking of, today's episode, we're going to go through club by club, pre-season updates, pretty much where everybody's sitting at. We're about 2 weeks out from the opening round.
I figured we'd just bring everyone up to speed. A lot of people don't really care about the footy until it's literally March.
Until it's happening in front of their eyes. But I was I'm big on pre-season games. I think they matter. I like when people put up the little pre-season ladders.
So after Sunday's game, Melbourne aren't making the finals.
Well,
if they matter.
what's it called that?
All right.
Anyway, cool. All right, so club by club, we're going to go in alphabetical order.
Good idea.
Where are Adelaide sitting at right now, heading out into the 2024 season?
Yeah, it's going to be, I think, a good season for the Crows. But preseason's probably been a bit difficult for them just on the injury front, which we'll touch on in a sec. Suns round one's going to kind of be a nice little tester for them as well, I think, just with two clubs who want to break into the 8 after spending a fair bit of time out of it, the Crows in particular, and obviously the Suns haven't made it with their new coach, and we'll touch on the Suns a bit later as well. Practice games against Port and West Coast coming up, which are going to be nice little testers as well. But yeah, a few personnel probably sidelined. Like the intra-club last week got a good look at a lot of their younger players and some of the roles they'll be taking up. So Dan Curtin's probably been the big talk at Adelaide. Their top 10 pick who they traded for, probably arguably the most ready-made draftee, maybe beside Harley Reid and Sean Manor. So he should probably be in their round one contention for a defensive spot. Now that also comes with Nick Murray out injured. Jordan Butts has had a interrupted preseason as well. And then you look at guys like Wayne Miller, Rory Sloane, Harry Schoenberg, a few others that could be missing the start of the season. So there's going to be a few opportunities, pardon me. But Curtin's been just as impressive as some of their other youngsters. Charlie Edwards, another one who I think has caught some eyes. Whether he gets a round one debut, hard to tell. And then some of the kind of guys who are expecting big seasons from in a year that they want to be taking that leap. Isaac Rankin and Joshua Shelley both flagged for some more midfield action this year. Probably not at the same time, and just as a nice rotation between that and as a small forward threat. Riley Thilthorpe really strong in their pre-season hit out. And should be, kind of rivaling, ideally, Darcy Fogarty and Taylor Walker as a tall forward target. And then Captain Jordan Dawson, again, a class above at their intra club. So it's really going to be a lot on his shoulders, I think, this year from a midfield point of view. Like they've obviously got Rory Laird to help as well. He was absent due to a wedding last week. But they really want to find that third kind of midfield option. And that could be a Rankin or a Shelley. So we'll wait and see. But yeah, I think Dawson's going to be the one for them again this year for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to seeing how Adelaide go this year. They've got a pretty nice fixture for the year, and I think that has a little bit to do with their controversial missing of finals last year. I think there was a little bit of a handshake deal done by the AFL, but yeah, lots of stuff to look forward to with Adelaide.
Already got your tinfoil hat on. It's nice. It's good.
I'd never take the tinfoil hat off, to be honest. All right, let's move on to Brisbane.
Let's do it.
So where are Brisbane sitting at? Their first game is Carlton at the opening round.
Yeah, host them up at the Gabba. Nice little preliminary final rematch. They have a couple of pracky games coming up against Gold Coast and Sydney. So again, the Suns are going to kind of be a hard one to read heading in to the season and for the early rounds. And then Sydney is probably a nice standard for them to kind of and also test a few moves. It sounds like they might have a few guys moving around. Darcy Gardner training as a forward. I think they just want a bit more versatility out of him, given they've got Jack Payne, they've got Harris Andrews, and they've brought over Tom Duday, who won't play until maybe round 3, 4, or 5. But they're going to be well placed. They're a pretty fit side. Don't usually have too many injury concerns. Lachie Neale's had a pretty interrupted pre-season, just with the groin issue and surgery, but they reckon he'll be fit and firing to go come opening round. But yeah, like their midfield mix is always, so steady, and they've got so many good depth options. Every year we kind of talk about Cam Rayner, Zach Bailey, are they going to take that next step? And they seem to take small ones every year, and I don't think they really need to, take big ones this year when you've got a McCluggage, Berries, Dunkley's, all with Neale there, and then Will Ashcroft comes halfway through the season. So, look, they're my premiership tip this year. I don't know how much I need to read into their practice games, but opening round against Carlton at home is certainly going to give them a bit to go off, and they have the Pies, I think, a couple of weeks later after an early bye. So it's going to be a nice little tester for them the first month of the season, just to see where they're at. But yeah, I think I've got them number one. For 2024.
We'll get into crystal ball predictions at some point closer to the season, but I think a lot of people have the Lions as their premiership tip. It's hard to look past them. Lots of stuff. When is Ashcroft due back, roughly?
Yeah, it's probably the midway point. Like, he's such a professional. It's the kind of word that goes with him all the time. So they're really expecting that he won't have any hiccups or any delays in his recovery. But at the same time, he's such a young talent that they don't want to rush him back. So I think you can kind of suspect it's probably going to be midway point, maybe a few weeks after the bye, maybe. But it's a big wait and see, and he's going to be a massive boost for them. For the second half of the year if they're well placed at that point of the season. Yeah.
That's going to be a great inclusion. All right, so looking ahead to Carlton, where are they sitting at in about 2 weeks out from the season? First game, Lions, as we were just talking about. Lions, pretty tough opening round game.
Yeah, and they'll be without Jacob Wiedering, which isn't going to make it any easier when they have to deal with, Joe Danaher, Eric Hipwood. As we mentioned, Darcy Gardner could be in that forward mix, and then you got all those smalls as well. Jack Silvani out for the year was another tough preseason blow for them. And whether he's in their best 23 or not, but Elijah Hollands misses through his suspension for the first 2 games of the season. But yeah, as equally what it was for the Lions opening round for the Blues, usually they have the Tigers, and last year they managed to draw, and they'll have them for what is round 1 this year. But starting with an interstate trip to Brisbane, who no one could get the chocolates against last year, and Carlton did a great job at the start of last year's preliminary final. They can be the first team to do it and claim a win at the Gabba in the opening round would be a huge skull for them. Such a strong midfield unit. Obviously, yes, a lot of focus on Charlie Curnow as well as forward, but I feel like Harry Mackay's the difference. If he's fit and firing, if he can kick straight, he might be the one that makes the difference between them reaching another preliminary final and reaching a grand final or winning one. So, look, their small forwards are going to be quite an interesting mix as well, as to see what the pecking order is there. Razio Fantasia joins. They're taking a pretty cautious approach with him, just given his history of soft tissue injuries. But I think he can be their number one small forward ahead of Motlop, Anois, Durden. They're certainly not short on options there. And then, defense with Wiedering out, and Marchbank probably plays. They've got Young, Kemp. These are the kind of guys that probably need to step up. It's going to be a hard task for them, but McGovern's another one as well. So again, not short on options, but the Wiedering difference certainly going to could sour the start of their season. Ideally, he comes back for that Richmond game, which again, not an easy fight in front of what you'd expect to be 80, 90,000 at the G.
Yeah, I think Carlton fans are quietly pretty confident, quite excited.
They'd be optimistic without wanting to be optimistic, because they kind of know how some of these things fare. But no, I think they would be expecting a preliminary final finish this year after making one last year. Well, not expecting one last year. I think just on paper, they've got their stuff sorted.
Yeah, I would love for them to miss finals, to be honest, after what happened against the D's in the finals. But I don't think it's going to happen. We'll get into our bold predictions later on. But yeah, Carlton's a very interesting watch, as their fan base always is as well. Alrighty, so looking now to the reigning premiers, Collingwood. I don't think I'm going to get used to saying that throughout this year, but reigning premiers, Collingwood, where are they sitting at about 2 weeks out from the season?
Yeah, they all eyes on the Pies this year after taking that leap under Craig McCraney's first season and then really solidifying themselves as a contender last year and before going on to win it in one of the best games we've seen for some time, I believe. But yeah, preseason, I think they've been fairly steady. Look, they've had a few setbacks. Obviously, Dan McStay's a massive blow. Josh Dacos pretty interrupted with his leg concern, but back full training this week. Harry DiMattia, who was slated for a potential opening round debut or round one debut, and unfortunately he'll miss the first month or two of the season as well. So
that's a bummer. A lot of excitement around him.
Yeah, Jamie Elliott, Braden Maynard both had off-season surgery, but they did that pretty early into the off-season to make sure that they would be fit for the start of the year. So they should be fairly fit. It's just the big question is who replaces McStay. It's probably Ash Johnson. Nathan Kruger had a pretty good hit out in his in the intra club recently, and then Reef McInnes is probably that young up and coming option that they really want to be seeing more from this season. I think that they're always quite excited about him, and he's had some looks over the last couple of years, but probably just hasn't had that consistency that they're after. And then another one is Finn McRae, who was fantastic in the intra club. There's been a lot of talk about him throughout preseason, and then it was on full display as to why he's getting a lot of plaudits just with his midfield work rate. And then they obviously signed this week or in the last week Jack Bartel, Lockie Sullivan, and Josh Eyre. Eyre will miss probably until about April with a new hamstring injury, but Sullivan's the one that definitely could be playing opening round. He's probably competing with McRae though, and I think that they'll probably prefer McRae, but those two combined really nicely in the intra club against pretty good opposition in Nick Dacos, Scott Pendlebury. So it's a nice little mix for them, and a few good options to consider after losing Taylor Adams in the off season.
Yep, absolutely. Going to be a very exciting opening round game against GWS, and I love the president of GWS coming out and just saying how we all feel. Really, just hey Collingwood. It's turning into a nice little rivalry, and I think this is also adding to what opening round is. They're probably not maybe games that would bring in huge crowds round 6, round 7. Take advantage while the NRL's also out of town, and also bring in a few games that just have little attached storylines to them, and just kind of cash in. So no, it's going to be a pretty packed game at Giant Stadium, you would think, with a strong contingent of Collingwood fans. Yeah. Fun stuff. Whether you like them or not, they're going to be a very exciting team to watch all year, pretty much. Okay, looking at the Bombers now, a pre-season update. Where are they sitting at? About 2 weeks out from the season. Hawks round 1, not opening round, round 1.
Yeah, round 1. So they kind of get that. You can't really call it an extra week because it's kind of the same time they'd start their season most years, but and the Hawks aren't coming off an opening round game either, so both teams should be pretty fit. The only drawbacks, I think, for Essendon, no Kane Baldwin, definitely out for the extended period. Whether he's in the best 23 is probably unlikely given Ben Mackay's come into the side, and then Dylan Shield doesn't sound likely just given his ongoing foot issues. Sam Draper seems to be in the clear, hoping to play round 1. And I think if it was opening round, he probably wouldn't be playing. So that's probably where it is from a touch and go basis. And then Jaden Hunter, probably the other notable one to mention, probably would have put some pressure on their first string forwards at selection this year. But unfortunately, ACL injury puts a line through his second season after joining just midway through last year at the draft. So, that's on the injury front where most things stands. I've had a lot of guys on modified programs as important as the preseason is, they don't want to be taking any risks. So, Jake String and Zach Reeds and guys who have had a lot of issues over the last few years, they've kind of put in the needed minutes. And I think, they could see some good results from those guys. As mentioned, Mackay comes in, Dersman's likely to start, Gresham likely to start, and Goldstein certainly as well, whether that's alongside Draper or just as a sole ruckman or with Nick Bryan. But you'd expect him to be playing against the Hawks in round one as well. Dersman's going to be interesting one, probably slots, straight onto a wing. Sam Durham, again, one that can probably play on the other wing, maybe a bit inside. And then Nick Martin's kind of a big question because training a bit as a defender, as a halfback, but he's also said that he's probably going to be playing the same role. So I don't know if that was him just kind of throwing away any tactics and just kind of being a bit mischievous. But well, I guess we'll see round one against Hawthorn, who could be a little undermanned, but still plenty of upside from the Hawks. So it's a nice rivalry to go with it to start the season for the Bombers.
Yeah. Definitely the most exciting list changes over the off-season for the Bombers, but I feel like every year they just always look like the best team on paper, and then we'll just see how they go. They're always interesting.
Yeah, I think they're in the crop this year of clubs that really should be or wanting to be playing finals and probably won't.
Yeah,
just given it's the competition's so close. But I feel like they're probably in that bracket of internally, finals is the word.
Yeah,
but I think most would have them outside the 8. Yeah, it's a tough bracket to break into.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so the Dockers now, definitely one of the most disappointing seasons, teams of last year.
For sure.
So they've got Brisbane in round 1, not opening round, Brisbane round 1 at home, which is a tough start.
Yeah, well, I think it's something that Justin Longmuir wouldn't mind. There's going to be a lot of pressure on him this year given he's off contract, and yes, they want a good start. But I feel like no one's expecting them to win that game. It's at home, and if they can just keep themselves in it, it's I think even that'll play its part in kind of holding him at the helm through those early rounds. And if they manage to win, then that's going to be a real great kickstart for them. A couple of warm-up games against West Coast and Port, who are at opposite ends of the ladder. But again, how much you want to look into practice matches and preseason games is for the beholder. A few injury concerns like Heath Chapman, will miss start of the season. Josh Corbett, Sebo Kewick on the inactive list, but that's given them some options. Signed Paddy Voss, former Essendon forward. Signed Jeremy Sharp, former Gold Coast flanker. 2 guys who certainly could be playing against Brisbane. I think Sharp sounds like he definitely will, just given they lost Schultz and Henry and they want some outside runs. So he was a nice little pickup for them. And Voss as well has something to prove, probably behind the likes of Amos, Tracy, and Taberner, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's kind of in the selection frame soon after that. And then I guess it's going to be their back line, how that holds up systematically and personnel wise. They might lose Hayden Young to the midfield, which still isn't like the worst thing I think from what we saw last year. And then their ruck force as well, Luke Jackson, Sean Darcy, 2 of the best ruckmen, but pardon me, how well will that work? I think they should be able to crack in this year. Darcy probably 70% ruck, Jackson 70% forward, and rotate through where you can. So, like you said, disappointing last year. Plenty of upside, very high ceiling, but at the same time, could easily be back around bottom 4.
Yeah,
just given where I think the rest of the competition sits and the amount of clubs that are trying to push into the top 8.
Yeah, and with the mostly losing players in the off-season.
Doesn't help.
Losing Lockie Schultz. I just can't see if they get off to a bad start, do we see Longmuir seeing out the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think they got to give him 10 rounds.
Yeah.
And the other thing that you have to look at is who's available.
Sure,
sometimes you really want to sack your coach under performance, but you got to think about what that next step is and who you're bringing in. Not to say there's no one available. It's just about, who wants to kind of take that lead. So 10 rounds at least, or to the bye at least, you'd be wanting to have probably 4 to 5 wins.
Yeah.
Sitting at maybe 0.500 would be nice for them at that point of the year, or at least safe enough for Longmuir, you'd think.
Yeah. It could be a tough year for Freo, but again, a lot of talent on that list. So, we'll see how they go. Right, looking at Geelong now. So, obviously, had a down year after a premiership year. Losing Joel Selwood, hard to adjust to. St Kilda round 1 at home for their first game this year. So, where are they sitting?
I don't have them back in the 8. And I'd be happy to see them back in the 8, obviously, but I just don't have them. If anything, probably taking another step towards the bottom. I think that clubs like Adelaide, Gold Coast, Essendon. I think the Bulldogs were ahead of them already, but those kind of clubs are probably the ones that are on the up, or probably already ahead of them and going up. I think it's just going to be way too much for them to climb. They'll probably pair with Richmond, I think, and probably just not going the way they want to. Injuries seem to be fine for them. That's one big positive, especially with an older group. Getting enough runs on the board over the preseason. Jack Henry's probably the main one, but Cam Guthrie back fit. Jai Clark, who's their first round pick from 2022. Uninterrupted preseason, plenty of raps for him. And it is going to be that young contingent that kind of needs to step up. So Tanner Bruin, more midfield action. Toby Conway, does he take the first string ruck duties? Ollie Henry probably had 40-goal season last year. They'd certainly be happy with. Probably just wants to add another 10 goals when you've got someone like Tom Hawkins maybe in the last year of his career. But defense should be fine. De Koning, Stewart, Henry once he returns. And then College Ashton Abuse, just solid role players. Blitz-ups as well can float back. So on paper, and everyone says this every year, they could be the best team. I just don't have it for them this year. I think it's gonna be too hard. And
Harsh.
Injuries were certainly a factor last year, but every club has injuries, and I think it's even with a healthy list, I think other teams are probably just going to get the better of them. And it'll add up.
I don't see them doing much worse than last year, but I think it's just that the rest of the competition is probably going to rise fast.
That's the thing. They could easily have played just as good as they did last year and fall 4 rungs on the ladder. That's how close it is, and that's kind of how competitive that those 8 clubs that fell just outside the 8, or 7 and Hawthorn, how much I think they're improving, or have the list to improve. And Geelong's in that bracket. I just don't think they're the ones that make that leap back into the 8.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, it's kind of harsh on Geelong for mine, but it is that I guess that's the reality.
As a Cats man, I can probably dob that as a win-win. Either I'm right or we make finals.
Yeah.
So, that's one way to look at it, I guess.
All right. Interesting one. All right. Looking at Dimmer Hardwick's Gold Coast Suns opening round game against his old team.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about Gold Coast this year, but where are they sitting at the moment?
Yeah. It should be optimistic. Dimmer wants finals. The club wants finals. They want a flag in a couple of years. Whether they'll get one, I think we'll have a pretty good grasp in about 9 months' time. But the off season, they really only lost players, but I think they've kind of they didn't lose anyone that's going to be really key to them rising up the ladder this year. It's just going to be banking on fitness for, I think, a couple of very important players, Ben King being one of them.
Yep.
Backline probably still, I think I've said this last 3 years, I'd like to see them get another key defender, but Mac Andrew could be that guy to go with Ballard and Collins. Midfield, Witts, Miller, Anderson, Rao. Doesn't get much better as a starting 4. If they get Miller back after a pretty interrupted year last year, Anderson was, absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
And finished really well in the Brownlow. Pardon me. All Australian contention. I think Matt Rao's the one that leaps both of them this year. I don't know exactly what it is. He's number one.
I think it's the haircut and the goatee that he's got. I tweeted the other day. He's looking great.
It is a nice little mix, but I'm just backing him in All Australian. Not necessarily past Anderson, but on the level that Anderson had last year, maybe a bit further. And those 3 on ballers, Witts, cramming it down to them, and some good depth options, some good young kids coming through. It is all stacking up very nicely and timed very nicely to have a triple premiership coach also at the helm. But yeah, first game against the Tigers. As we mentioned before, I think Richmond could be one of the sides that still struggles again next year, and this is a great kind of starter for them on their home deck in front of what they can hope for is a pretty good crowd.
Yep.
Adelaide the week after. It's going to be a pretty good first few weeks just to see how this Suns side looks for the year ahead.
Yep. A bit disappointed that Walter won't be making his debut. I was pretty excited to see how he goes. How far away is he?
Yeah, he's probably missing the first month.
Yeah.
He probably would have played.
Ready-made.
Probably would have made opening round. Just such a big key forward, which is going to be a nice little complementary addition to your Kings and your Lukosiuses. But I think those two, they combined for 70, 80 goals last year. They'll be fine, without a teenager in there.
Yeah.
But they've got Casboard if they want to go 3 tall forwards. They can swing Mac Andrew up the other end of the field.
I also get the Casvolt's just part of that team.
No, he's a great serviceman for them. Been awesome since he went up there. So no, they'll be fine. Lockie Weller's probably the other one to mention as far as absentees to start the season. With his ACL injury. So again, another one that comes back second half of the year. But King, another one who they've been pretty cautious with over the preseason, but he's flagged he'll be ready for opening round. So fingers crossed that's the case because, he's the difference maker for the Suns this year.
Yep. Beautiful stuff. All right. Looking forward to Dimmer's Suns this year. All right. The GWS Giants. A lot of people tipping them for a flag, really, based off what they did last year. And, not too surprising. They were probably the best team to watch last year besides Collingwood. So where are they sitting at the moment? They've got an opening round game against Collingwood at home, which is a lot of fire behind that one already. Yeah,
it's going to be a nice little introduction for Adam Kingsley's second season at GWS. Little rivalry building, coming up against reigning premiers, a team that really wants to show that last year wasn't a fluke, much like Collingwood did last year. And probably have some backers for the premiership. The Swans and Suns coming up in a few pracky games. Nice little look, and I think they'll probably blood a few fringe guys who are making their case because they might have a few out for round one. Perryman, Isaac Cumming, both likely to miss. Finn Callahan, a chance to miss. Adam Kennedy's the other one who will miss. But could open the door for some kids. Darcy Jones, probably one of them. Missed most of last year with an ACL injury. I think played just a one VFL game, which is the game that he did the injury in. So they've got good squad depth. Their team on paper this year might be the best. I've always probably had Carlton as number one, but I think maybe GWS certainly could be there. And that, they're a point from a grand final last year. And then I don't think they really are relying on that many older guys. Like Callum Ward isn't, he's probably their 5th, 6th best midfielder. If they use him in the midfield, he can certainly play elsewhere. And maybe it's, Lockie Keefe is one they can probably afford to replace. And Aaron Cadman's right there, number one pick. So they're well set for not only this year, but 4 or 5 years. And with what we saw from Adam Kingsley, he's certainly one of the better coaches of the last 12 months. So if not the best, given he won Coach of the Year. So I
also the alpha coach, I think, just how huge that dude is.
He's a big guy. So look, if it's another preliminary final finish, certainly a chance. I've probably got them 5th or 6th.
Yeah, we'll
do our ladder predictions closer to opening round, but I've probably got them top 5. So
I think for me it's top 4, but we'll do predictions a bit maybe in a couple of weeks, but they're one of the teams I'm most excited about seeing this year.
Sure.
Absolutely. All right, looking ahead to the Hawks for 2024, probably one of the more exciting young teams, but a bit hampered by injury now.
Real deflating.
So, where are they sitting?
This is going to be a really hard start for their season. No Will Day, James Blake out for the year, Chenkuth Jath set to miss the start of the season. Could add Dylan Moore to that case. He'll be touch and go with glandular fever. Seamus Mitchell, Bailey McDonald, more guys who no certainty, and if they were to be available, they'd be coming off pretty interrupted runs. Chad Winger will miss the rest of the year. Now Denver Granger Barras is out for 12 to 14 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. And
Yeah.
a lot of that came from their recent intra club. So ideally, nothing else follows in their upcoming Pracky games against the Western Bulldogs, which they have 2 of. So those two will play each other twice in some different kind of formatted fixtures before they face the Bombers round 1. And yeah, the Bombers could be a big problem for them.
Yeah, I
to
was
start
giving
the
them a
season.
pretty good chance against the Bombers until a lot of those injuries. But but it's round 1, not opening round, so they got a little bit of time. But yeah, it's that's a tough start.
It's like Essendon, could be anything this year. Just given some of the changes they make, but when you're probably relying on, well, they've still got James Sicily, obviously, but I think they like to probably have him as more of that floating option. You're probably relying on Sam Frost.
Yep.
Ethan Phillips, who they've just picked up out of the VFL. It's going to be pretty tough when you're coming up against Peter Wright and Cole Langford, who have kicked 50 goals in a season, each since 2022. So not fun there. They could have, Bombs could have added Nate Caddy just to try and make things a bit worse for the Hawks. But the midfield battle is going to be fantastic on that game. You'd think the Hawks have the edge even without their reigning best and fairest in Will Day, with Newcombe, Warple, Nash, Ward, McKenzie if they want to. Moore, if he's playing, can run through there. So not going to be short on options. It's going to be a very kind of exciting midfield battle. And look, if the Hawks forward line's fairly fit, so if they can win that, get the ball forward, and if Jack Gunston's backfiring, if Mitch Lewis is at his best on that day, then there's certainly a good chance. But backline injuries and Day's absence, it's not going to have them favoured for sure.
Yeah, Mitch Lewis is going to be a really important player for them this year. But then also, I think those young midfielders, like you say, like Newcombe and Warple as well, like I think they could be pushing to get up into that next top tier this year. So, exciting stuff for the Hawks. D's, my boys, where are they sitting in season 2024? This is a hell of a list in terms of who misses the first game. So, do you want to roll through them?
Yeah, there's a few. So, obviously, Clary has been all the talk at Melbourne, and it's not even necessarily injury. It's personal matters and fitness levels. But he was pretty awesome on Sunday against the Tigers, which was half a VFL unit, but still, like if you've got a really good AFL player and you throw him into a VFL game, that is what you get.
Yeah.
Plenty.
He hasn't lost touch.
No, plenty of the footy. Didn't show any issues with fitness. It was only 3 quarters, but he was flying. He was fine. So the question is when he's ready. They haven't ruled out opening round with a trip to Sydney, which is tough, but he might not play full-time midfield. Their midfield did okay, I think, against Richmond. Like Jack Viney's a workhorse. Petrarca's still there. Tom Sparrow, Alex Neil-Bullen can step up. They got Jack Billings in. So they won't have too much of an issue filling in his minutes if he's kind of splitting them up. But Sydney's midfield's going to be a nice little test for him. This is an awesome season opening game. Really, really good. But then they've got a few others that are missing. Cosy Pickett through suspension. Joel Smith's playing future itself is up in the air. We don't really know where that's sitting, but you'd expect he's not playing anytime soon. Dan Turner out for months. Ben Brown not playing. Pardon me. Tom Fullerton not playing. Lockie Hunter now expected to. It sounds like things have been pretty positive in the last couple of weeks with his calf issue. Harrison Petty, fresh toe concern. Shane McAdam, I think it's a calf issue. Add in Tom McDonald, probably not playing. He's had an interrupted preseason. Jake Malcolm out for most of the year. I think that's everyone. I might have left off a couple names as well. Angus Brayshaw, I think, should be playing. Like he's had a few concussion concerns, and they've just been really careful with him. But I think he'll be okay fitness-wise, and if he's available. And then I think a couple others that missed in the preseason Pracky game against Richmond, but should be fit. Tajwa Woden and Andy Moniz Wakefield, who might not be best 23 players, but good to have those depth options. Starting for opening round, Sydney's going to be really tough. I think the Swans will be favoured. If it was at the MCG, I think it's probably Melbourne, so that could be the difference. And then whether Clary's playing or not, from what we saw, he can only really make them better. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be a problem for them if he's actually playing. Yeah. So that's kind of where they sit from a personnel perspective. They'll have high hopes again. Another shocking September showing for them. It wasn't easy. Like couple of close.
No,
Like, they
well,
were
it was
only,
two very close.
yeah, they were 2 kicks away from really booking themselves into a prelim spot. So
that's 2 years in a row that's happened.
that's
So
what I'm saying. That doesn't help. And then
very
the
upsetting.
off season as well, not helpful either. But it's not like they've had to deal with off season issues throughout the last 12 to 24 months anyway, and they've kind of steered through that well enough. But yeah, a couple of young kids coming through, like Jacob Van Rooyen as well on Sunday was a headache for Richmond's defenders. Probably just couldn't quite hold a couple and couldn't convert on a couple. But if that's an off day, his on days are going to be really hard.
It was rusty.
I
think it was rusty across that first opening quarter.
There
was a lot of mistakes on both sides, really. So
Melbourne kicked the first 5, Richmond kicked the next 10. It was a bit of a funny game to start. But Caleb Windsor could be a round one chance, opening round chance.
If Hunter's not playing and Windsor on one wing and
that's probably
Landon on the other,
that's probably it. Yeah. If Hunter's not playing, he definitely plays. Found plenty of the ball, had no issue.
Yeah. Surprisingly, he's
level.
back on some sides since draft day. I remember
he's
seeing him on draft day and then on the practice match.
Preseason certainly helped. So it's going to be a tough start. They have the Dogs the week after for round 1.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we mentioned the Richmond Pracky game, but they'll have Carlton again next week. So Carlton into Sydney into the Dogs. Nice kind of 3-game window for them.
Yeah.
Even though the Carlton one's a Pracky, but I think Clary's going to play that, and that'll give us a good indication of where he's at for opening round.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's Clary and then again the forward line this year, and I think that's going to be the key for Melbourne.
Yeah,
and obviously not losing finals.
Yeah,
hopefully
winning a final. I think they'll be looking for more than that, obviously, with the list they've got. But winning a final is going to be
I think out loud winning
a
final.
Yeah,
in my head, we should be contending for the leg again.
For sure.
Yeah, could be a very chaotic, dramatic year for the D's yet again. North Melbourne. So where are they sitting? We're about 2 weeks out from the season. They've got GWS in round 1. That'll be their North's first game, but GWS's second. So
they can really only hope. I guess the Giants have a pretty battered opening round game and a really tough slog against the Pies the week before. They do stay up in Sydney though, so the North are the travelling side. Roos a couple Pracky games against the Pies and the Saints. So practically every team that isn't West Coast this season, they really want to be at least having some good signs. And I think for them this year, it's about maybe mirroring what Hawthorn did last year. Might not necessarily be about the wins column and where they finish. It's probably about maybe what they show against some of the top sides and if they can knock off a couple of those top sides. Because Hawthorn were the only side outside of Melbourne that beat Brisbane and Collingwood last year.
Mm-hmm.
And not saying that the Roos, if they do that, it's an awesome, perfect season for them. But, if they can really take a couple of good scalps, beat the teams they should in West Coast and maybe pick one off Hawthorn, that's, you're looking at 5 wins there. That's almost double what they had last year.
Mm-hmm.
A bit more stability at the top, but injuries have been a concern for them this preseason. So Zach Fisher, one's had to deal with a few issues. Eddie Ford, Aidan Cork, obviously Griffin Logue's out from half the year with an ACL injury. Luke McDonald, Jackson Archer, Tristan Jerry, Hamish Free. There's been a lot who have been off the park this year for them. Most of them should be fit for round 1. Like Logue's probably the one that won't. Ford, I don't think will. Core's kind of touch and go. Fisher, and then there's the Taron Thomas stuff. And, sound like I think we already knew he probably wasn't going to be playing to start the season. Like he spent the last month or so outside of the football program, and even if he was cleared to return, still all up in the air. But they won't have him for. It sounds
never
like
again, to be honest.
Well, that's the thing. It could be until the end of the year, or it could be, that's it.
Forever.
Which I'm not going to be surprised if that's the case. So, but I think overall, after adding Tyler Sellers to their list on Monday, who, great addition, young, big body forward, which they need. They need someone to partner Nick Larkey. And if they're swinging Charlie Comben to defense, Sellers could be that. If it's not him, then it's Callum Coleman-Jones, and that's it. Like Zane Dersma comes in. I think he's more of a third tall forward. But Sellers, Dersma among, I think, almost a dozen, or about a dozen inclusions for them over the off-season. 5 of them were first-round picks. One of them was Zach Fisher, Dylan Stevens, 2 guys who have shown a bit over the preseason. Offered some nice run on the outside. Colby McKercher, sounds like he'll play backline along with Harry Sheasel. So yeah, I think it was a good off season for them. The Thomas stuff aside, it's been okay for them, but injuries as well. It's just probably interrupted them a little too much. They've had like a really big group on the track consistently, but that again opened up a spot for Sellers. Like he just kind of thrived in their absence, and hopefully he's one that gets a look this year and can kind of take his chance with both hands. So as far as expectations, like we said, it might not be how many wins, it's just who the wins come against and how they get them.
Yeah. I think also just having Clarko there for the entire year will be really good for a young group, really. Yeah. Interesting. So Port Adelaide, again, disappointing. They just didn't quite get there again last year. Ken Hinkley re-signed. So again, I feel like Port has been in the same spot for the past 8 years where they show a lot, but they don't quite get there. So, but where are they sitting now? So West Coast in round 1 at home. Yeah,
it's a nice little tester for them. Not like it could be a beat up for sure. It's at home. Yeah, I think that they'll probably look into the next few weeks after. Showdown's kind of the one they'll definitely have circled after losing both last year. But yeah, like you said, it was a really frustrating finish for them in the finals, not going out in straight sets, 2 games. And then, they lost to GWS and Brisbane, who I guess if you're losing to a team in the finals, they're going to be a decent side anyway. But they addressed kind of some list needs, new ruck contingent, a couple of key defenders in, and again, maybe on paper, should be doing pretty well this year, you'd think, now that they've kind of settled those areas that were probably easily their weakest points. Like their midfield group is better than fine. It's fantastic. And their forward line is just an interesting mix. Like the big positive for them is Mitch Georgiadis is going to be fit a lot earlier than many would have expected. Whether he's playing is another thing, but Charlie Dixon, pretty interrupted preseason. He might not be fit. Todd Marshall, again, another one who has had a bit of an interrupted preseason, should be fit. Ollie Lord was awesome for them in the finals last year, despite them not winning. So forwards, they're pretty settled there. Got some good options and some good rotating players as well, like Jason Horn-Francis can play forward. Sam Powell-Pepper was awesome last year for them. So all the pieces are there. Ken Hinkley still at the helm. It's again, maybe is winning a final and enough for them?
I don't think anyone's going to be in the Port camp. I don't think they'll be happy just to win a final.
No, I wouldn't have thought so either. It probably has to be finish top 4 and then win a final and book themselves a preliminary final with a week off. That's probably the ideal scenario for them. But then again, before 2022, they had a couple of prelims that they couldn't capitalize on. So it's just adding to their frustrations if that's the outcome. But they're going to be shooting for the top. And they're going to. I don't think it's going to surprise many if they get there. In 2024.
Yep, absolutely. So lots to look forward to for Port this year. All right, so looking now at Adam Uze's Richmond. Interesting. He's got a camel down at Punt Road, which I think is going to be the difference for them this year. So first game, opening round against Gold Coast, against their old coach's new side. So where are they looking? Yeah,
we mentioned earlier, I'd probably be tipping the Suns for this. And then they come back to Melbourne and play Carlton. So a good chance they're 0-2. They're 2-0. That's going to be very impressive and certainly going to change the tune around the Tigers. Like Adam Uze, we don't know what we're going to be getting, but he's kind of flagged. It's going to be quick, pacey football, much like the Tigers from 7 years ago. And they've looked all right over the preseason. Like this new forward mix is going to be the big question with Tom Lynch missing that Gold Coast game. Bolter and Kajitsky combined for, I think it was 5-6 goals against the D's over 3 quarters. They didn't look too bad with Shea Bolton at their feet, kicked for himself and played a bit of midfield. Ryan Mansell was really good in their intra-club, but now set to miss the start of the season. Steely Green was kind of one that stepped up in his absence and has been pretty impressive as well. So he could be an opening round debutant for them. Tyler Sonzi was good. I thought, against the D's, but he'll miss the first couple of games due to a VFL suspension. And then Presti is the other one who's no certainty to play. They've managed a few guys like Taranto, Grimes, Martin, Nankervis should all be fit, which is good for them, and they'll probably face Collingwood next week in their last Pracky game. So on pay, for their opening round against Gold Coast, they should have a pretty strong group. Lynch and maybe Prestia aside and Mansell out. It's going to be a great challenge for them. But again, I think as we mentioned briefly on them earlier in the show, I just don't see them making the leap.
Yeah.
They could go up, but I think there's going to be too many clubs.
They're an interesting one. I think Dusty's been training midfield mostly as well. So that's going to be interesting if we can play out most of the year in the midfield.
For sure.
I think that's where a lot of it will come down to for them. But yeah, Lynch getting fit is pretty important for them. So
full season for him makes it's the difference. It's the reason why they came away with so few wins last year, and it was very hard for them to kind of pivot when they've kind of been able to train without him all preseason. Get a good look at that and then add him in. So kind of the inverse, that's certainly going to help. But yeah, you're right. Actually, if Lynch is playing a full season back like he could in 2022, there's still a chance. Yeah.
No, I'm excited to see what the Tigers do, and especially since they took Adam Uze from our coaching staff, and then we got McQualter, little swapsies there. So interesting one for the Tigers this year. So looking at the Saints now for 2024, they've got Geelong in round 1 away. Interesting one.
Geelong and Geelong. It's if you're going to pick up a win on the road, it's one of the better ones. Like no matter where Geelong's lists at, which to be fair, the last 15 years it's always been at the top. But no matter where they're at, picking up a win at Cardinia Park is really going to help, and to do it start of the season, very very helpful. They're such an interesting one, the Saints. Like using the term overachieved last year, like it's such a silly term because if you're playing at your best, you do it consistently, you're a good side, and that's what Ross Lyon got out of his team to manage a home final. Didn't win it, but I don't think Saints fans can be too upset with where things were at last year. From a personnel perspective, Paddy Dow probably doesn't start the season. Ben Patton misses a bit of time with a pec injury, but fairly fit. Like Max King should be all good. They've just taken quite a cautious approach with him, and given his history of shoulder issues and knee issues. And then as far as the new talent, so Dow won't play. I think Liam Henry gets a look, and he's going to be pretty exciting for them. Adding to a small forward unit that already consists of Jack Higgins and Dan Butler. Midfield, do we see more Mitch Owens in there or Mateus Filippo? You've got your Steele. Sinclair could also be one making a move. So it's their midfield that's going to be quite interesting just to see what it looks like. Brad Crouch and Jack Steele, kind of the stalwarts in there, and do so well on a consistent basis. Rowan Marshall, one of the best rucks in the comp, but who that next midfielder is. If it's Owens, if it's Windhager, if it's Filippo. It's going to be quite interesting to see how that midfield stacks up, because I think some of the stats last year for them, they conceded, I think it was the most disposals, so oppositions picked up the most disposals against them, but they had one of the best defense, conceded the least amount of points. So while they're not having a lot of the possession, they're not really allowing their opponents to score, which sounds like Ross Lyon. So if we see more of that, it's going to be interesting. But they added heaps of speed. Like that was the name of their off-season plan. Particularly at the draft. Like Dow's probably not going to add too much. He certainly can give a bit of a burst through midfield, but Henry probably plays a bit more up on the wing or a half forward, and then Angus Hasty, Lance Collard. Some of these kids that they've brought through, whether they get a look this year or not, but it's going to be a lot of run, a lot of overlap, which is what Ross Lyon likes as well. Yeah, and just getting that, they didn't win, but that finals experience to those young developing kids that are in the list from last year. That's a good point as well.
Because they were good for a lot of last year. Everyone kind of forgot that they were in the top 8.
And the thing, they didn't have a key forward for most of it. Like Mateus Filippo and Anthony Caminiti and Mitch Owens were their key forwards. Two of them aren't key forwards at all, and Caminiti was picked up in January. They did so well without Membry and without King.
And you got Membry coming back. As well.
Fingers crossed he's all good to start the season. So all works there. Backline pretty steady. Wilkie and Josh Battle did a pretty good job last year. Dougal Howard, serviceable. A couple of those guys are off contract though, so hopefully that doesn't play too much of a part in their season. But a couple of guys they might want to act on, particularly Josh Battle. I think he's probably their biggest re-signing priority for 2024.
Absolutely. All right. Exciting one for the Saints this year. Looking at the Swans this year. So opening round against, opening the season against the D's. So that's going to be an absolute banger of a game. But yeah, where are they looking at?
Like we said earlier, the opening round's just kind of got all these nice little storylines to it. Brodie Grundy first game with the Swans against Max Gawn.
Yep.
I'm tipping Grundy he's back. I think he'll come back. Like, I'm not saying I've been able to see what he's been able to produce over the preseason, but just knowing the talent he's got, the time he's got on his side, the midfield unit he's working with,
kind of less
and probably the environment.
Well.
It's the environment he's in as well. Probably like coming on a lot of criticism from Collingwood, moves to Melbourne where all eyes are on how this is going to work. Obviously, it didn't not necessarily that he played poorly. He's just not a forward.
Yeah,
which. I mean, it's fine. Like, so I think with the Swans, he's going to be a massive get for them. I think I said it at the end of last year. All Australian squad member is my prediction. But then you add in a few other guys that they brought in, Hamling, Jordan, and Taylor Adams. Some solid names who should be contributing to the senior level straight away. Probably
great inclusions.
Yeah, no, they've kind of just filled in some of those needs. The key back spots are probably still a bit shaky. They lose Paddy McCartan, but they've got Tom McCartan still. Hamling should be pretty helpful. Nick Blake can play a little bit taller, but they probably want him more ground level. So, it's pretty exciting. Cal Mills is obviously the big one, frustrating off-season injury for them.
Also hilarious.
Depends who you're talking to, but I couldn't imagine John Longmire would have been all that happy.
No, but you got the captaincy, so
like that just shows the leader that Mills is, albeit with I won't call it a hiccup, but an F up. Sole captaincy. So when he comes in, it's going to be like a new recruit for them midway through the year, which is going to be great. And then their midfield, like Errol Gordon, could be the best player in the comp this year. Add in Chad Warner, add in James Rowbottom, Ollie Florent. They still got Luke Parker, Isaac Heaney. Yeah, they'll be fine. And then it's the forward mix is kind of the interesting one. Yeah. Donald, Marty, McLean, who kind of steps up out of those three. It could be any of the three. Yeah. Kind of fill Buddy's shoes. Yeah. And
I think just knowing that Buddy's not going to be there too, and you're not going to
helps. Yeah. There's something there for all
they
of them.
were like really good without Buddy as well.
Yeah. There was a few games. Year. Where they were fine for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well. Exciting one for the Swans. All right, looking to Harley Reid's West Coast for 2024.
No, don't need to put any more pressure on the kids.
It feels like it feels like that's the only thing that's happening at West Coast this year, apparently. But
it's going to be relentless.
Yeah, it is quite exciting. But a lot of pressure on the number one draft pick. But as a whole, they've got Port in round one away. Where are they sitting at the moment? A few injuries as well.
Hasn't really been any more fortunate for them on the injury front. Liam Ryan misses the start of the season. Sounds like Dom Sheed probably will. Elijah Hewitt will. Clay Hall lucky to avoid a serious injury, but still annoying for a kid who had put together such a good preseason and was probably in a round one selection frame. Jai Carley still recovering from a knee injury, ACL injury last year, but looks like he's progressing quite nicely, which is good for them. So they'll miss a few for that Port game. Not to add on top to the Reid conversation, but the thought of him lining up on Jason Horne-Francis round one, Horne-Francis half forward, Reid half back. God, I'd love to see that. Even Reid on the weekend on Ruben Jimby just floored him.
And Jimby is looking massive.
Yeah, he's like...
And he just shrugs him off like nothing.
I feel like maybe not expectation, but what a lot of people think Harley Reid could do this year, I feel like Jimby will surpass that. Or, will do, but even more. Like, yes, he's got an extra season under his belt, but he's going to be a monster for them. Yeah. And it's going to be so exciting to see those two together. Elijah Hewitt when he comes back in, even guys like Noah Long. Brady Hoff. We've got some nice pieces, and that's, when you go to the draft, you certainly hope to. It's just going to be who's on the field for them this year, what the system looks like, and what we're going to be seeing that's going to make us think, all right, cool. The last couple of seasons of the draft and have been pretty strong. On the field hasn't been. So what's going to make us change our mind about West Coast this year? Looking forward, we're not expecting them to probably even leave the bottom two. And maybe a lot of people tipping them to be wooden spoon, but what is it that we're going to see this year that's going to make us think, all right, cool, they're on the right track?
Yeah.
Because it can very easily be another sour season for them.
Yeah.
And like Justin Longmuir, Adam Simpson might have the first 10 rounds to be pressing his case to stay in the role. He's contracted, for another year beyond this year, but I don't think West Coast, we were waiting around too long. This time around.
Yeah, I think they could take a couple of scalps this year, but just being at home for half the year. So, yeah, interesting one.
I feel like it gets forgotten that they beat GWS last year.
Yeah.
Like, it was round 2, and GWS didn't start the year well, but I don't think GWS were really missing a heap of players. They were coming off a really brutal, I think it was that same week, the week before, when they played Adelaide up in Sydney in like 35-degree heat or something. And it was a really tough contest. So like there was that played a part for sure, but it was, West Coast coming off a game as well. And it was a tough game, but it does get forgotten. So look, they've got games against Freo and Adelaide. It's pracky games, get a few more minutes, and just hopefully everyone can get through unscathed. I think it's going to be kind of important over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and now looking at the Western Bulldogs for season 2024, always a curious team to see what they're doing list-wise. Opening game round 1 against the D's. What are we looking at here? Yeah,
expectations-wise, I think it might be the same for them, just outside the 8, which is really where they shouldn't be. I mean, everyone knows that. Yeah. With the midfield group they've got, with the forward talent they've got, their backline's probably a little shaky, but Liam Jones was fantastic for them last year. James O'Donnell looks like a pretty handy pickup. If Sam Darcy's playing back down there and can finally hit his straps, it's going to be pretty exciting for them. Ground level, Caleb Daniel, Bailey Dale, Ed Richards can all play down back there. Yep. Taylor Dre adds a nice cool head as well when he's on the field. So I think, again, on paper, can easily be top 4. Yeah. Just not something Beveridge has been able to do since
ever.
Like it's just such a big problem for them. Bailey Smith out for the year. Hurts.
Yeah, that's a big one. Although he was playing out of position last year.
That's the thing. So it's like, not that you want the injury on anyone, but if it's going to be, not that it would be Bont or Libba. Yeah. But like their midfield group has options to replace some of these guys. I would have liked to see them take a punt on Lockie Sullivan. I think they'll be ruining that missed chance now that he's at the Pies. But yeah, Smith out. Jack McRae dealing with some injury on the eve of the season. Might see him miss round 1. Yeah. Just needs to kind of build some fitness. But other than that, pretty fit all up. And then so their forward mix is going to be interesting to see. Like Jordan Croft won't be playing this year, I wouldn't have thought, unless everyone gets injured. First round pick, but key forward, give him time. And they certainly can with Jamara, Aaron Norton, Rory Lobb as options. Sam Day, as we mentioned, can certainly play forward. So
do we see Darcy come in at all?
That's what I meant. Yeah. Darcy can play forward. So I think they'll probably use him as a back or maybe a ruck option. But if Rory Lobb's not firing, then they certainly can slot Darcy into a forward ruck hybrid role. So nice kind of utility option for them. It just hasn't been able to get on the park since coming to the kennel. Their midfield unit on paper is probably the best. Bont, my eyes, the best player in the comp, or the best midfielder in the comp. Tim English, best ruckman in the comp. Libba, the best of what he does. And then it's probably, not sure on those fourth options. So get it forward. You have Aaron Norton, Jamara there to mark it. They just need to have their kicking boots on. Yeah. And if they drop it, Cody Waitman's there. So pretty handy for them. And that fourth midfielder option could be Riley Sanders, top 6 pick, who's been pretty impressive from all accounts. So
they just always look so good on paper.
It is frustrating if you're a Dogs fan.
Yeah.
I
So
understand.
if they have another disappointing season, where do you see Beveridge at the end of the year?
I don't know if they'd make a mid-year call unless things were really, really bad.
Mm-hmm.
But there would be probably the word review might come back into it, despite having an internal and external review
Yeah.
recently.
Yeah.
It's
Well, he's got different assistants around him now too.
well,
so.
not that it doesn't sound like that was exactly what he wanted.
Mm.
There might have been some that he was happy to see go, but sounds like there was one, maybe two that you might want to have kept.
Yep.
So yeah, like on top of what is already frustrating on field, it could be a pretty busy off field at Whitten Oval as well over the next 12 months.
Yep.
Wait and see.
Yeah. All right.
All
Well,
right. That's
always
it.
curious, the doggies. Okay, so for the first mailbag for this year, we asked everybody on our Facebook and our Instagram to give us their bold predictions for 2024, and there were definitely some bold takes.
Yeah, probably ones
we got
didn't-
almost 1,000 submissions, which
Yeah.
is pretty good. Probably too much. So I've picked out my favorites, so we're going to give them
probably
a
the
rating.
more vanilla ones, but
Yeah,
but
I mean,
a lot of
there's-
them aren't likely. So if the people are predicting these,
there were
hand on
some
heart,
that Facebook automatically hid, I
yeah,
think. So
no, that'll happen.
yeah, those won't go to mention. But we're going to give them a rating from 1 to 5, 5 being the most likely to happen, 1
Yeah.
being the least likely to happen.
Yep.
And we're going to start with the ones that a lot of people picked. So a lot of numerous ones. We're going to fly through these. So a lot of people picked Melbourne to drop out of the 8.
So 1 to 5,
Yep.
2.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 2 as
2.
well. Yeah,
Okay.
I could see that happening, but I don't think it's likely.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Just with the list, Collingwood back to back, probably the most popular comment that we got.
3, like it's kind of sitting on the fence. It's so hard to go back to back.
Yeah,
It's
statistically, it's
not easy, and just
very-
with where the competition sits. Yeah, I'll say 3. Certainly can't rule. Like they're one of the I think they're their favourite, and I probably don't have them in the grand final.
Yeah,
I probably-
I'm going to give it a 2. Just like, I mean, I said it last year as well, but they all the games they won really closely. So, like, it's not like they were.
Yeah, I don't factor that into it too much. I just have Brisbane probably ahead of them.
Yep.
Carlton on par. GWS Sydney next. So
Yeah.
good chance. Just
Yep.
very hard to do.
Very nice. A lot of people picking Essendon to win a final.
2. I don't have them making finals.
Yeah, I've got them 1.
Felt-
I don't think it
Yeah.
happens this year.
Mm.
I don't think I make it. A lot of people pick Carlton to finish 9th.
Very funny.
Specifically.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
specifically
If it's
9th.
specifically 9th, then it's a 1.
Yeah.
If it's outside the 8, then I guess like the best chance they have is probably at 9th. But it's a 1. If it's a 1, if it's them missing finals, it's probably still a 1 or a 2.
I'm going to give it
It's
a
probably
2.
a 1.
Yeah.
I had Melbourne at 2. I think Carlton probably a bit more stable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go 1 for that.
I'll give him a 2. I can see it happening. Especially just getting a little bit too big for their britches, I reckon. So this one from Adam Richards, a backman to win the Brownlow medal.
1.
That's a 1.
1.
Yeah, I'll agree with
it'd be Tom,
So out of
Tom Stewart, Jack Sinclair.
I can see Stewart winning a Brownlow.
I'm just trying to think.
He's the best chance, I think, out of everyone.
Yeah. Darcy Moore, Sam Taylor, James Sicily, Hayden Young, if he gets flagged. But I think he can only win it if he's playing midfield. Like,
yeah. Or someone that plays that can drop back and plays in midfield.
Dacos is the same. Like,
Yeah.
I think he could be considered a defender last year and probably would have won it if he didn't get injured.
Yeah.
So if it's the same for Dacos, which I don't think it will be, I think he's midfield this year.
Sheasel if they won enough games.
He's kind of following that Dacos blueprint. One.
Yeah. Okay. This one from Brant Nicholson, Adelaide top 4.
3. Yeah. I'll
agree with that.
can't rule it out. I
Yeah.
don't have them in it, but I can't rule them out. Kind of
Yeah.
like it's probably like Collingwood winning the flag. I don't have them. Not tipping it, but
Yep.
certainly a chance.
Yep. This one from John White, Lions flag.
Yep. I've got it at 4. Like I'm not saying it's definitely happening. but
Yeah.
I'm tipping them for the flag, so I can't really go anything lower.
I'll
or
give that one a
higher.
4 as well. Helen Hallas, Swans flag.
3. Probably have them 4th in line. I haven't been ahead of GWS, but probably Collingwood, Brisbane, Carlton ahead of them.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 2. I think there's probably 5 or 6 teams. I think that a better chance at a flag. I think.
Yeah, okay.
Stephen Sheridan, Saints to win the flag. 1.
Well, nothing really against St Kilda. I just probably don't have them in the top 8 this year. So 1.
Yep. I think they're a better chance of top 8 than a flag, but
You don't say.
yeah.
Next.
Brody M27, the flag mantle 2024.
That's
1.
That's a 1. Love
Yeah.
to see it. But
That's a 1.
Yeah.
I don't have them. Yeah, I don't have them making the 8. This one from Clinton Scharenberg. Port to win a second AFL premiership.
2 or 3, 2.5.
I'm going to give it a 2.
I'll probably lean to a 3. I'll round up. Yeah, it's a chance. Like we mentioned earlier in the show.
Yeah. I think they're good for the 8. They're good to win a final. I don't think I can have them going on to win the flag.
I think everyone forgets how young Rosie and Butters are.
Yeah.
Just like if they're staying on course.
Yeah.
And then you had Horn Francis in and Ollie Wines. Yeah, I'm probably it's a 3. It's a 3 for me.
Yep. Okay. Justin Barker, very bold. Swans will win every game this year and then go on to win the grand final.
That's definitely happening.
1. Has there ever been a season where someone's won every game?
Bombers 2000, but like, not quite. Like there's been close, but it's almost,
okay.
It's impossible.
It's
not
1.
impossible. Yeah. It's just like how often these days do you get clubs winning 20 games?
Yeah. Daniel Mooney, Jordan Dawson, Brownlow medal.
Like if we go back earlier, like if Crows are booking themselves in the top 4, I think Dawson he didn't poll that well last year. Like Rankin had more votes than he did. But if they're up there, he's definitely going to be a big part of why. But I think it's guys like Rankin, it's guys
they'll
like
still vote
Shelley.
Yeah.
It's other guys that also step up.
Yeah.
So 2. Like,
2?
certainly not a bad chance. Probably 2.5, 3. Like
there's no.
He's going to be up there. 2 then. Like he could be up there, but after not polling that well last year, I think it was 13 votes. Rankin had 15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2. I think 2.
Then again, could be just that one year where people maybe recognise him a bit more. And this year is the year that he polls well. So 2 still.
Done. MJ Rag says Bombers' streak of no finals wins continues.
Yeah, well, if I had them at a 2 for missing the finals.
Yeah.
Making the finals or winning a final.
Oh,
it's
no
a
winning a
4.
finals. Yeah.
It's probably a 4.
That's I'm going to say that's a 5. I reckon that's pretty much a guarantee to happen. Yeah. Not winning a final. Yeah. Riley Burke, Kangaroos to finish above Richmond.
2. Like I'm predicting a ladder. They're not far off each other.
Yeah.
On the ladder though, on wins columns, it's probably a little bit different.
Yeah, I think Richmond have too much
very similar
winning experience.
Just similar to last year. I think they're probably only a couple rungs away from each other. But wins, it's a bit of a different conversation, and North are probably a bit further back than you think. Could make a jump. Richmond can go down. I don't think it goes that far on both ends though. Yeah.
That's a 2. Yeah. Where are we up to? Arda Selika. Richmond to win the flag.
It's a 2.
That's a 2.
Can't rule them out. Like we said earlier, Tom Lynch is fit. Rest of the forward line works. Midfield stays fit. Everyone stays fit.
It's one. Everything has to go right for that to happen.
But it certainly could. Could happen. Yeah.
Okay. Matt Drinkwater. Larky is the 2024 Coleman medalist. Don't hate it.
3.
Yeah.
Probably could be 4. Like if you're.
What did it come last year? Like 3?
It's third, yeah.
The
most accurate kick in the league by some distance.
Yeah.
It's just about A, getting the ball to him, and B, the amount of opposition focus that's on him because they don't have that many more tall threats. So if Dersma can pop up and kind of help take that load, if it's a Tyler Sellers or a Coleman Jones or a Zerha, if he just gets a bit more help, which obviously might take some goals away from him, but just lessens the focus on the opposition of him, then he certainly could beat his 71 goals last year from 100 shots.
Yeah. I think it's
kicks
a 3.
accurately again. It's 3 or a 4 for me.
Yep. Peter Franks, Caleb Winslow to win the Rising Star. Love that.
3. Sounds like you'll play a bit.
That's the only thing. He might not
You have to
actually play.
You got to play like 17, 18 games.
Yeah.
Which a lot of rookies do now.
Yeah.
Like Reed will. You'd think Curtin will. This is all if they stay fit. McKercher probably will. Angus Sheldrick's probably a smoky from the Swans in his 3rd year.
Mm-hmm.
Riley Sanders probably plays a lot of game time. Windsor probably will, but there's probably a couple of those guys that are ahead of him.
I think, probably a 3. There's a lot. There's a lot
3.
there.
He's up there.
Yeah. This one from Apostolos HD. Harley Reid doesn't win the Rising Star. Instead, the winner is Dan Curtin.
4.
Yep.
Like, I might not have Reid winning it. I'll probably have Curtin on his level. I guess 4 is probably more for if Harley Reid doesn't win it. Dan Curtin winning it, and like both happening, Dan Curtin winning it ahead of Reid is probably maybe a 2 or a 3.
Yeah.
But Reid not winning it, probably a...
Is Curtin that much of a lock to...
No, I don't think so. I think Reid's probably still favourite, but I'm not tipping him. It's really hard. It's going to be a really tight year. I think I'm going McKercher.
Okay.
Ahead of both of them. So I guess overall it's probably a 2 or a 3.
Yep.
Yeah, it's probably not that likely.
All right. So a lot of people put this one through. So Gold Coast to make the finals. Pretty bold.
3.
Yep.
3. Yep.
Yeah, I think it's 3. They I don't know. There's that middle pack that's like it could.
Yeah,
I reckon it'll be
it's
one of
so
those
tight.
seasons where it comes down to the last game again.
Definitely could. I probably don't have him in the 8, but definitely could.
Yeah.
Just 3.
3. All right.
Fencing.
Matt Saunders, Lions versus Carlton grand final.
This is a 4. 3, 4.
Yeah.
I've got those the 2 teams I've got in the grand final. Like if I'm predicting.
Okay.
I don't think I've given a 5 yet, but like
Carlton, I just don't see Carlton making it for me.
I have Carlton back up in the top 4.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I can see the Lions there. For me, it's a 2. I don't see Carlton making it. I think there's a lot of teams that are ahead of them, like GWS. Lachlan Clark says Dockers top 8. Sorry for laughing.
We had flag mantle earlier.
Top 8.
Disrespect. 2 or a 3.
2.
Yeah, I don't have them in the 8, so it's probably a 2.
No, I think there's a lot of residual damage from last year as well. All right. Andrew Butler, North to win the premiership.
1.
Bold.
5.
That's a bold one.
That's happening.
Yeah. Damien Roberts, North to make the 8.
That's a 1.
It's still a 1.
Yeah.
Matthew Bates, Dusty will be AA.
I think last year was his last chance, and he probably should have made it.
I don't know. He plays every game. I mean, it's a 2, but if he plays every game, because AA I feel like is a lot of name recognition. He wants
squad
to
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably have a 2.
Yeah, 2.
Yep.
All right, and Vanessa Muscat. It'll be the first and last time we have the 0 round. So
I'm going to say it's a 4, just because I feel like if NRL goes to Vegas and they want to take advantage again, I feel like they might just call it round 1.
Yeah,
just make things so much easier.
I don't know.
Now that people are used to it, people are used to it because I think they didn't want to call it round 1 this year because people would be a bit up in arms that Carlton and Richmond aren't opening the season. So we're calling it round 0 is a bit of a okay. Well, if they just call it round 1 next year. So round 0, it could still happen like the split thing, but just call it round 1.
Yeah. I think that's a 4 as well. All right, so now honorable mentions. These are just bold takes that I enjoyed. I don't think it's worth rating any of these, but we'll do it anyway. So,
all right.
Bodie Derek 11, Freo finished between 6th to 11th, depending on performance. Which
is that a take?
I don't know. I mean, everything depends on performance, right?
Well, it's a 5 then. Like, if we're depending on performance, the performance is good or bad
between
or
6
okay. They could finish anywhere between those. So
my take is that Freo will finish somewhere depending on performance.
That's bold.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Apostolos HD. This is my favorite one, I think. Nick Dacos will punch Finn McGuinness and will receive a 10-week suspension. 1.
Yeah.
Although there is every year I feel like there's like a massive suspension.
Next.
I mean, we've already got one this
10
year with
weeks.
Taron Thomas. So
10
yeah,
weeks.
10-week suspension.
We don't get 10-week suspensions.
What, for a punch?
Oh, no, you would, but I'm saying
Yeah.
that doesn't happen every year. Hardly happens ever.
I mean, I feel like there's a big one every year, but
it gets them like 3-4 weeks.
should have been Maynard with the 10
Next.
weeks. All right, D Tibbsy. No, actually, this is probably my favorite one. Ralton Roberts to return to the AFL.
5. Get him back. I don't know. Next.
Mark Blithman says there will be 14 rule changes in 15 weeks.
As in
5.
as in over the course or in 15 weeks?
Over the course of, over the course of the season, yeah. By round 15, there's going to be 14 rule changes.
Right. 1.
Well, they've already got 3 this year. I think they've taken out whistling.
They're just amendments.
They're rule changes. They count.
Just tweaking and
Leave the game alone. All right. Ash Oakes, Seagull to play 5 or less senior games. Now, I had to double check with this one. Is there a player named Seagull, or is that a nickname?
I don't know.
Or is this an actual Seagull?
I'm trying to think of it as like a defender who gets known for like as the Seagull, like picking up the cheap touches out the back. I don't know.
There's a lizard.
Yeah.
So who would be as
That's what I'm saying. Jake Lloyd maybe, but Jake Lloyd plays every game. I don't know who Seagull is. Ash, I'm sorry, but
okay.
Yeah.
All right. And finally, from Simon Rayner, there's a bit on this one. So, Crows to be trailing in the grand final by 5 points.
Right.
Ben Keys kicks a behind on the siren. Crows win by 5 points, and Nixie's hair grows back.
Kicks a behind on the siren, and they win by 5
and they
points.
win by 5 points.
Oh wait, so they're down by 5 points. They've kicked like a goal and 3 more behinds.
No, it just says Ben Keys kicks a behind on the siren.
Crows win by 5 points.
Yeah.
So
I think if that
were they down by 1 point, and then
if that comes into play with the rule changes, I think if they change the rules
and allow
in
Matthew Nix to get hair transplants.
Yeah, I think midway through the year, Matthew Nix is gonna go to Turkey and come back with some hair. I think it's not a 0. It's probably a 1, but it's possible.
Well, we didn't have 0 on this, so it has to be a 1. So it's unlikely. We can't rule it out.
Well, we have round 0. Everything's possible in AFL. So thank you everybody for sending in your bold predictions. Definitely some bold ones in there.
Look forward to next year's.
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you, Mitch. You got through this one. A little bit of COVID
sorry.
there, so.
I don't have it anymore.
Oh, right.
But yes, apologies for the
cough.
Occasional cough.
Yeah. Okay.
I probably should have said it at the start of the show. Well, if you're listening now still, you deserve to know why.
All right. Well, that wraps it up for Zero Hanger TV this week. Subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Going to be a big year for Zero Hanger this year. And, of course, we have the AFL season guide as a free download. So get onto that.
It's
Mitch has
free.
put numerous hours getting all that together. What's on there, Mitch?
Heaps.
Heaps.
If you can't remember, go back to the start of the show when we talked about it. Heaps.
Player ratings, summaries, a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff.
He's obviously read it.
And it's free. So just go and download that. All right. Cool. Thanks, Mitch.
Thanks, mate.
Cool.